Today we're going to look at what does it look like to retire at the age of 65 and spend $5,000 per month throughout retirement. For the sake of this example, we're going to assume that you're married and the only income that you have in retirement is your Social Security benefit. For the sake of this example, we're going to assume that your benefit combined between both you and your spouse is $3,500. However you want to split that up, great. If it's a 1750 even split between both spouses, excellent. If it's the higher earner spouse making maybe $2,000 from their Social Security benefit and the lower income spouse making $1,500 per month, great. But the combined benefit amount for the sake of this example is $3,500. We're also going to assume that you have a retirement portfolio. In that portfolio, we're assuming that you have $250,000 in tax-deferred assets. Think your employer-sponsored plan and your traditional IRA. And we're going to assume that you have $50,000 in a taxable brokerage account. In addition to this, we're going to assume that you need at least $4,000 in retirement to live. That's kind of your needs-based expenses. And then we're going to assume that you would like to spend that $5,000 per month. So $1,000, think of it in additional discretionary spend. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Right away, as we mentioned, we have $3,500 coming in from our Social Security benefit. Now, if we remember, we want to spend $5,000, right, per month in retirement. Immediately, we see here that we're going to have a $1,500 per month deficit, or $18,000 per year. Now, where does this $18,000 come from? Well, this $18,000 must come from our portfolio to get us through and fill that income gap in retirement. Now, if we look at the withdrawal rate here, this is something that we talk about quite a bit. We like to use a dynamic withdrawal strategy here. That means we're changing the amount that we withdraw from the portfolio based on market performance and inflation. And we have certain guardrails outlined to make sure that we aren't pulling out too much. And when the market's down, or if the market's up, maybe we're pulling out a little bit more to make up for some of those down market or cyclical market environments. So if we look at our numbers here, $1,500 per month or $18,000 per year, if we divide that into our $300,000 portfolio, we can see here that we have a 6% withdrawal rate, meaning we are taking out 6% of our portfolio per year to meet and fill that income gap that we have between our Social Security benefit and our expenses. Now, a couple important things to note here. One, we want to be very mindful of how is our investment portfolio allocated, and not just allocated, but where are our assets located? If we think back, we mentioned that we have $250,000 in tax-deferred accounts and $50,000 in a taxable brokerage account. Using our traditional withdrawal strategy, we would pull from one first, the taxable account, and then the tax-deferred account. So when we think about our asset allocation, we need to be mindful of what is our location and where are we pulling assets from first. In turn, how are we investing across these different accounts? Well, if we assume that we're going to pull from our taxable account first, then it might make more sense to have a more conservative, balanced or moderate portfolio allocation within our taxable account. And if we're going to wait to pull from our tax-deferred account, then it might make more sense to be defensive or even growthy within that account. This leads us to the bucket strategy. Within the bucket strategy, we look at how we're invested across three different buckets. Bucket number one, we see this as our liquidity bucket. This is assets, cash that we're going to need in the next 0 to 3 years. Well, if we assume that we need $18,000 per year, doing some simple math, 18 times 3 is $54,000. So theoretically, in bucket number one, in our liquidity bucket, we need $54,000 allocated to cash and cash equivalents. Think cash, money market funds, or CDs. Now on to bucket number two. Bucket number two is, call it 4 to 10 years, depending on your timeline of bucket number one. It could be 5 to 10 years, 4 to 10 years, whatever it may be. This is our more defensive bucket. We are invested in bonds and dividend-paying stocks. So doing the math, if we assume that we have investments in bucket number 2 up to 10 years, we'll have about $180,000 in bucket number 2 relative to how we are invested. That is, in bonds and dividend-paying stocks. And now on to bucket number 3. Bucket number 3 is our growth bucket. Theoretically, we are not touching these investments for at least 10 years. And therefore, this is our growth bucket, like I just mentioned. We're going to find largely stocks in this bucket. And so if we add up that $180,000 plus the $54,000, that gives us $234,000. We have a total portfolio balance of $300,000, and so therefore the difference would be invested in this growth bucket. Now guys, it's important to note that as we pull money from bucket number 1, bucket number 2 replenishes bucket number 1. And as we pull money from bucket number 2, replenishing bucket number 1, bucket number 3 replenishes bucket number 2 from our dividends or even interest that we're collecting off those investments. And so this is important to be mindful of this because this matters relative to how we are allocated. So thinking about our investment strategy and thinking about our asset location, let's dive into why we use the traditional withdrawal strategy. Relative to our investments and how we withdraw assets, just to reiterate here, we draw one first from our taxable accounts, then our tax-deferred accounts, and then our tax-free accounts. Using this strategy allows for our tax advantage accounts to continue growing tax-deferred and tax-free for as long as possible. And now on top of how we withdraw our investments and how our investments are taxed, we also need to consider our other strategies like tax loss harvesting, tax gain harvesting, Roth conversions, among other things. So let's dive quickly into tax loss harvesting. What is it? Tax loss harvesting is simply selling investments at a loss to offset capital gains from other investments. This is usually done within that taxable brokerage account. Tax gain harvesting. Tax gain harvesting is actually just the opposite. It's strategically selling appreciated assets to realize a gain in certain years with the goal of minimizing your overall tax liability. And Roth conversions? Roth conversions involve moving money from a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. When you do this, you realize that portion that you're taking from that traditional IRA as income, and then you move it into that Roth IRA. This can be a strategic way to minimize RMDs and create tax-free growth. So depending on your situation and where you're at and how you're invested, Roth conversions may or may not make sense. It is important to properly think and plan for a Roth conversion. So now let's get back to the root of this video. Can you retire at 65 with a $300,000 portfolio and your Social Security benefit? And not to sound cliche, but the answer is unique to you. For some, this is a dream. This sounds perfect. They can definitely manage this in retirement. And for others, $300,000 in retirement with Social Security may not be near enough to get them through retirement. So to properly plan for this, we need to identify and go through 6 key areas of our retirement. It's also linked here in this other video, so you can check it out there. But area number 1, define your retirement goals, both short-term and long-term goals. You must have a defined roadmap to get to where you want to go. Area number 2, can you actually afford your desired retirement? Is your desired retirement $5,000 a month? Or is it $10,000 a month? Or is it $3,000 a month? Whatever it is, can you afford that lifestyle that you want to live? Number 3, identify your income sources and gaps. As we saw in this example, they have a $1,500 per month income gap. They need to fill that from somewhere. How are they going to make that happen? Number 4, define and create a withdrawal strategy. We did in this example. We mentioned that they have a 6% withdrawal rate, and we're first going to withdraw from our taxable account, then our tax-deferred account. And if it makes sense to do Roth conversions in the meantime, then our tax-free account. And number 5, build a retirement investment strategy. We did just that using the bucket approach. Bucket number 1, our liquidity bucket. Bucket number 2, our defensive bucket. And bucket number 3, our growth bucket. And finally, area number 6, build a retirement tax plan. While we didn't do that, we mentioned things that we should consider: tax loss harvesting, tax gain harvesting, and Roth conversions, among other things like asset location and asset allocation. How are we allocated across our different investment accounts to try and reduce our lifetime tax liability? Retiring at 65 with a $300,000 portfolio is totally possible, but it takes proper planning. And with a retirement tool like the one in the description that you can use, this could be possible for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.